You're listening to the God Life Culture Podcast, where faith
and what's trending collide. Welcome to the latest episode of the God Life Culture Podcast. This is Eddie.
What's up, everyone? This is Miguel, and you are listening to the God Life Culture Podcast. Welcome back to another episode of our podcast. If this is your first time listening, we want to say welcome, and we hope that today's conversation is one that blesses you, encourages you, and that you enjoy it. For all of y'all returning listeners, we want to say thank you so much for coming back and checking out our new episodes and joining us on this ride. Eddie, we are halfway through the month of December. Christmas is like tomorrow. It's not, but it feels like it is. And then 2023 is behind us. Yes. 2024 starts. I mean, this year.
Yeah, I mean, it's practically the year 2030. At this point, everything is just like crazy. Moving so fast.
And I think that as you get, I mean, I don't know, I was having this conversation with someone the other day. I'm like, as you get older, it's scarier the way time flies. And when you start realizing like, you know, kids that were like kids when you were like a teenager, you know, and then you're like 30 now and they're, you know, 10, 11, 12 years old, and you're like, wow, I remember when you were born. Like, that's scary. You know, like we were talking about like all the kids, like, you know, from our church and just some of the kids in our family, and how, you know, they're like 10, 11, 12, and they're like growing up, and you're like, here, I can't believe that they're 10. I can't believe they're 11. I can't, you know, I remember when they were born. We were there when this is their first birthday and all this stuff. So I think as you get older, time and age and all of those things, and just like how time passes and how quickly everything goes by, and just how, you know, kids are growing and growing up, like it's scary.
No, absolutely. I think it's so weird. I think, you know, scary, I think, is a legit feeling. Sometimes it's too strong of a word, but it definitely is very weird. Like I even think about like people, because when I got married, next year, we're 10 years married. So when we got married and moved to Long Island, there was kids that we met that were like 10, 11, 12, who were now legit in their 20s, grown on their own, starting professions and stuff like that. And when you think about stuff like that, it's like, wow, time just moves so quickly. Also, when you think about yourself, when you think about, you know, sometimes I'll get like little flashbacks of like high school or like something funny that happened. And I'm like, oh, that was maybe like 5 years ago. No, that was like 15 years ago that situation happened, that you graduated high school. And, you know, I think things like that kind of put things into perspective about how time is so fast. Yeah. So fast, and it moves so quickly. And I think that, as you know, when you're living your life, when you're young, in your 20s and your teens, and you're just going through the motions of life, you don't really think about that. It's when you get older that you start thinking about, oof, there was a lot of years that I just like let fly by me that I could have done something else with, or wish that you were more present to like really like take in those moments of, you know, the fun times and like the crazy things that, you know, a lot of people did when they were younger. That was good. You know, that a lot of people sometimes say that, you know, you waste your years doing like crazy bad things, but there are things that you did that were legit fun. You just didn't know in the moment that you were living the high life. In the moment, it just felt like, I'm just doing my everyday thing. But yeah, time is Speedy Gonzalez its way through our life. And, you know, what can we do about it?
I know. And then especially I think, you know, around the holidays, right? I guess because everything, you know, it's like very happy and jolly and all of that. So like, you know, we had our Christmas party, our church Christmas party. Yeah, we did. And that was kind of what sprung the conversation between me and my wife, because we were seeing all the kids like running around and kind of having a good time. And, you know, they dress up, and some of them the girls have their nice dresses, and the guys are wearing their nice clothes. And it's just so crazy just to see them, you know, grow up. So, you know, that's kind of like what sparked that conversation. And obviously, you know, it gets us thinking about just ourselves, right? And just different areas of our lives. And I don't know, the holidays definitely, I think, tend to get some people, and we've discussed this before, kind of like in their feelings with certain things. But I think it also allows, this time of a year allows time for reflection, right? And allows time for you to think back over your year, think back and just like enjoy and spending time with your family. You know, a few days ago we had my parents had a dinner. We had some of our family members, over, my aunt and uncle, and my brother was there with his wife, and we were just kind of all together. And this year my family had went through the loss of my aunt, and it's just one of those things that I see that even after her passing and all of that, just this idea of spending time with your family and your loved ones. And there's always family that you see constantly, and then there's family that you kind of just see around the holidays, right? So like you just kind of see them around December, right before Christmas, or around Christmas time or New Year's. And it's this idea that ever since that happened in June, we kind of made an effort to connect with certain individuals and certain family members and checking up on them in the last kind of like 6 months, so it's one thing that I think the holidays, it depends on how you view it. You can be down maybe and upset over certain things that happened, or you can kind of take initiative to say like, it's the holidays and, we're family. I'm going to reach out. We should spend time together. We should be together, and making sure that happens, So I think around this time, it's a lot of reflection and obviously a lot of positivity and fun, and a lot of things out there that, you can do.
Yeah. No, listen, and I commend you guys for taking that step of closeness with families, because I feel like, unfortunately, when things like that happen, when there's a loss in the family, people kind of tend to like flutter away and like do their own thing and not put importance on staying connected and staying as a family, especially when the person that passed was kind of like the unit, was the thing that brought everybody together. When that person is no longer with us, sometimes we kind of, whether we believe it's not going to be the same without them, or for whatever reasons, a lot of people tend to not value those connections. But those that do take to heart the idea of, it's good for us to still get together and still connect and, do these things. It's important to do that.
And there's a difference obviously between just like sending a text, right? Or like calling, or like seeing each other, like, every now and then. And then there's a difference when you are intentional about, hey, no, let's have a dinner. Let's, get together for this, right? So that's kind of what I'm talking about. The intentionality of not just being like a quick, oh, hey, how's it going? Oh, cool. How's everything? Saw the pictures, right? Where it's more like, hey, let's sit, let's get together, let's talk, let's spend time with, each other, right?
Yes.
So I think there's that difference where that's where we should be, right?
Yeah.
An intentional time being spent with the people we love.
And I think intentionality is very important, because sometimes we kind of reach out to people in a very ambiguous or like open format.
Yeah.
Where it's kind of like, oh, it'll be nice if we spend time soon. Like, no, like be legit. Like, oh, next weekend I'm free. Are you free?
Yeah.
Or, what are you doing for whatever day? And I really put specifics into it, because then when you kind of leave it open and ambiguous, it's not a direct invitation. Directly invite people, whether it is friends or family, to do things. Be intentional with it. Switching gears a little bit, my wife and I were having this conversation because obviously it's December, it's Christmas time.
Yeah.
And whether or not, there are people that are very gung-ho Christmas. Very like 463 decorations, a tree in the living room, a tree in the family room, a tree in the bathroom, like very like extra. They have all these Christmas outfits, and then there are people that are not like that, and not in a negative way. I was talking to my wife. My wife isn't a Christmas person because she grew up in the Caribbean, where the focus is really more on Three Kings. The Three Kings Day in January. Christmas happens, stuff like that, but they really like emphasize and have fun when it comes to Dia de los Reyes. So first of all, are you a Christmas person? I guess so. Let's start there. Are you a Christmas person? Like, are you like elf hats and stuff already?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Why?
Yeah. Why? I think it just stems from your childhood, right? So I think for me, Christmas was always like a big deal.
Yeah.
Right. Like, my parents always did like, either a Christmas party at home. We had lots of family over. There were some years even where it was just us at home, and just different things, even like financially that my parents had been going through and our family had been going through. It wasn't like previous Christmases or as elaborate or as big or whatever. It was still filled with a lot of love, and there was still like a lot of joy in that. So it was just something that I think since little, I mean, my dad was the one dressing up as Santa. Yes, right. And you know, and coming in, you know, to the house, and it was like a big thing, you know what I mean? But yeah, I mean, I love it. And I mean, now as a dad and having Micah, it's something that, you know, I'm like kind of reliving that childhood nostalgia and all of that, but just like I want him to experience all the, you know, beauty of Christmas as well. But yeah, I love Christmas.
Yeah.
From everything, like, you know. And as I get older, I start wanting, I guess, the Christmas season to start earlier. So before it was like after Thanksgiving. Now by like November, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4 around there.
Your tree is out.
Not that it's out, but I'm starting to play Christmas songs like randomly, you know. My wife is still more like, okay, after Thanksgiving, but by next year I'll convert her and she'll be a November 1st, you know.
Yeah, you know, and it's great because I was listening to someone else have a conversation in reference to their Christmas experience, and they were having a conversation with someone who didn't have the same experience as them, but the person that was speaking had a very similar experience as you, where their parents were very like, they did the cookies, they did the milk, they did the footsteps of the snow and the boots of Santa and all this stuff or whatever. And you know, it's crazy to hear that perspective, because in their lives, you know, when they speak about it, it's so magical. It's so like, it was so amazing. Yeah. It's so great.
And it's so weird because I will say this, for me, it's not tied to any of that, because honestly, my parents didn't do that. Like, we weren't that OD. Like, so like the elves and stuff, it's really more just the environment and like just the joy and the time with family, you know what I mean? But I do hear stories like that. Like, there are even like apps out there like for like Christmas lists and like letters. There's like the elf on the shelf, right? That the elf goes into like different places or whatever, leading up to that. You have to move, all that. So, and I think they even do that for the Three Kings, where they have grass and water and you have to put it under your bed or out, like it's a whole thing. So like all of those things I never really experienced. I don't think I ever put out like cookies or milk or anything like that, or did anything with the, you know, whole elf on the shelf thing, but it was more just like everything else. You know what I mean? But like you said, there is a spectrum of kind of like people who do all of that. Like the Christmas list, Santa's Christmas list, and they do all of that, you know. Yeah,
and I think that for me, I didn't do none of that. The Santa Claus and the Christmas and the cookies and stuff like that. But what I do relate on is the fact that, you know, Nochebuena, which is Christmas Eve, is where the party would go down. You know, it was a great celebration. Everybody came together. It was great food. It was fun times. It was all the cousins running around. And, you know, that was what Christmas was for us. And then you would stay up till midnight. That's the big thing, you know, and a lot of Latino culture families, they don't open their gifts Christmas morning. They stay up, they party 24th all the way to midnight. Once midnight strikes, they go ahead and they start handing out gifts and opening it up. And you have that whole thing that happens as well, where there are other families that they send their kids to bed early and wake up the next day to do it. But, you know, our tradition was always that. And you know, and I think that that's what we try to instill in our kids, just the sense of family, the sense of being together, the sense of having a great time. We don't really do none of the traditional things with the Santa Clauses and the reindeers and the elf on the shelf, and child, it's too much. It's too much to do when it comes to that. But the idea of that Christmas is a great time of you know, just the importance of being together, the importance of family, the importance of, you know, doing, like, one of the things that, you know, this is kind of like a new tradition that we're doing this year, is focusing a lot less on gifts and more on experiences with our kids. Because I feel like a lot of times, you know, we love to shower our kids with materialistic things because we love them and we want to give them everything. And we want to give them all the toys, even though they have closets full of toys and things that they play with for 2 seconds and then they'll play with for months at a time. You know, sometimes we get a little carried away with the atmosphere of what secular Christmas is, which is you got to get the biggest gift, you got to get the newest gift, you got to get the newest system, you got to get the newest this or that. But sometimes, you know, you got to you have to pump the brakes on that if that's what you want to do based off of what you think the needs of your kids are as well. And I think that this year we're really focusing on experience. We want to get them to do things. We want to get them involved in things and, you know, fun things. Like one of the things that our kids are going to be doing, we're giving them as part of their Christmas gift is there's this like I'm trying to explain it without saying what it is. But it's basically, have you seen American Ninja Warrior?
Yes.
Okay, so American Ninja Warrior is a show where I think it's like on NBC or something like that, where they have the people competing and they're like jumping on obstacles and swinging off for stuff and doing all this stuff or whatever. They even have American Ninja Warrior Juniors, which is the kids version of that. So basically, we're getting our kids in that. Why? Because they're super energetic. My youngest, who is 3, turning 4 next month, wants to learn how to do a backflip. Legit, every day. Daddy, can you teach me a backflip? I can't do a backflip, but I'll get you in a class that'll teach you how to do a backflip, or whatever. And it's just great things that I feel like, it is those experiences for them, and whatever that could lead into career wise, whether it be they want to start getting into any type of sports with those tools and skills that they learn, or they're just gonna be doing backflips just for the fun of it. But that's a new tradition that we're trying to like lean into more, which is less physical things. Like, we still give them a toy here and there, but I remember last year they got so many toys that we were like, nah, son, we OD'd. Then now we're like, nah, we're gonna switch it up and lean more into traditions. Is there a tradition that you're looking to start either this year or in the future with you and your family?
I honestly don't know as far as new traditions, right? Because there's a lot of traditions that I just carry over, right? That, we kind of involve like my family with, right? But it's one of those things where like there are little things that we've done. So for example, like this year I had this idea of doing like a snow globe, right? So like every year, like getting a different type of snow globe and like something like that. So like, oh, this was like our 2023 one, and like putting it under it and like doing a collection like that, right?
Okay, I see that.
But that's just kind of in things to represent the year. But as far as traditions, I don't know. I think as this Christmas comes, right, and we're kind of for the first time and doing it, with Micah, we're still like not sure, are we going to open presents Christmas Eve at night or Christmas morning, depending on when he's awake and when he's, like sleeping and how he's feeling. So like we still are like, waiting it out to see like how we do it. But obviously it'll still be, like family and, all of that. But you had brought up a really good point as far as like getting consumed with a lot of the material things. And I think that is something that is a big struggle for people, right? Around this time. And we were even talking earlier about the idea of, getting like new outfits for like events. And it's like the need to feel like you need like a new outfit, new clothes, and you stress yourself out over things and all of that. And I really do think it has a lot to do with your motivation and your reason why. Like, why do you feel the need, like you need like a new outfit, and it's stressing you out to the point where you're angry and upset because you don't have something new, right? Is it because everybody else is coming like really dressed and really decked out in new clothes and you feel like you need to be on their level and like I can't be left out and I need new clothes too, right? So I think there's always so much room for you to feel either discouraged or stressed or less than because of your motivation. You know what I mean? I think the same thing happens when it comes with, material possessions, not only with kids, but as adults, where you feel like you need to get the best gift. And sometimes we equate the best gift with the most expensive gift or, the latest trend or the latest, iPhone or something like that. And, I think you need to kind of sit back and reflect and ask yourself, why are we doing this? Why am I getting this gift? Why do I feel the need that it needs to be this amount of money in order to be the best gift for that individual to be happy or accepted, right? So it's just one of those things, whether you're buying toys for your children, whether you're buying a gift for your spouse, whether you're looking for clothes to wear for an event, you have to ask yourself the reason why, because it is very possible for you to shower someone with a bunch of gifts, right? But still having that conversation where they know, I'm not doing this to buy your love. I'm not doing this to make you feel, any type of way or anything. I love you, right? Outside of this moment, outside of this gift that I'm giving you, whether it's a huge gift or a small gift, right? Same thing when it comes to your kids, where it's like, okay, you're getting all of these toys, but this is, why we celebrate, or this is why we're doing this. So it's always where everything needs to have a conversation. You know what I mean? So it's like whether we're going out there to buy clothes, whether we're going out there to buy toys, whether we're going out there to, have an experience, it's almost like there needs to be a conversation tied to it. You know what I mean? And kind of like a self-evaluation as to why. There are individuals who feel the need every year they need to go on their 3 vacations vacations and make sure the vacations are this way, that way, a Caribbean one, a more, wintry one, this one. And it's like every year their, material possession, situation is in their vacation. You know what I mean? And then there are individuals who, don't do anything at all. And it's like, you should like show appreciation. Maybe a gift would show that, you know what I mean? Or some words, a card, a letter, so there's always that balance where, whether we're talking about children, whether you're talking about adults, where a conversation needs to be had, self-reflection needs to be made, where you are asking yourself the why am I doing this? Why are we doing this as a family? Why are we still upholding this tradition? Why are we still, doing, like, have we stopped to think about why we're doing this? You know what I mean? And it's always important to do that, while at the same time kind of not I want to use the word shaming. That's a real strong word, but I guess in certain cases it can be shaming others, right, for what they do. And I think around the holidays, we kind of spoke about this around Halloween, where there, are the people that Christians who don't celebrate Halloween, and then the Christians who don't celebrate it, but will still give out candy if someone comes to their door, or a church will do, a certain event on Halloween, and their churches are like, no, right? And we see all of that conflict during that time. And sometimes we can see that even during Christmas, where it's, you shouldn't be listening to certain Christmas songs. Why are you singing that Christmas song? Why are you doing the Santa thing? You shouldn't be saying that. Aren't you a Christian? Right? And we could easily kind of be put in positions where we look at others and it's like, you should be doing it this way, right? Or why do you do that, right? So it's this idea of just making sure and analyzing the why we're doing it, and also understanding that, there are other people who will have those different traditions, or have different ways of doing things, and, different ways of even expressing gratitude and appreciation towards other people that to us may kind of be like, did they really need that $22,000 piece of jewelry to feel appreciated?
Give it to me, I'll take it.
Right? So it's just one of those things I think is important, right? To outside of even just the holidays, like just in your life, what's the why? What's the reason, why?
No, and I agree with that. One of the things I was going to ask was if there was anything you didn't like about Christmas. And I think that for me, what I would say is the pressure that you put on yourself to have to meet some standard of having to, buy things for everybody or get things for everybody, or, there's like this crazy pressure that is put on people sometimes where they feel that they have to get these things for everybody because it's Christmas and that's what you're supposed to do. Whether or not they are financially capable to do it, or whether or not they even want to do it. And like, I haven't really spoken to them like that, but I guess I got to get them a gift, because if I don't get them a gift, then it's just like this whole big snowball effect of a situation. And I think it's important, like you were saying, like sometimes you got to take a step back and ask the why am I doing this? Even for parents with kids, definitely explaining to them that, Christmas is not about the gifts. Christmas is a perk. I mean, the gifts are a perk of Christmas, where, it is cute to be able to receive the gift, or it is really cute that, you wanted something and you were waiting for it all year. You've been waiting for it for a couple of months and you get that on that day. But that's not what it's all about, because when you instill when I'm talking about parents and children, when you instill in those children that Christmas is all about that gift that you want, what happens the year you can't get them that gift?
Yeah.
There are times where hopefully you have kids that are super understanding and they'll get it and be like, no, mommy, daddy, it's okay. And then if you raised up a kid who is ungrateful, when that happens, they will throw that in your face and be like, oh, you ruined Christmas. I only wanted, the newest, latest iPhone 37.
And honestly, outside of the Christmas season, that's just wrong on your part as a parent, just in general, so it's like, if that's what you're experiencing around Christmas because of gifts, then it's like you were doing something wrong January through November. You know what I mean? So it's like one of those things where like you said, those conversations and things need to be instilled in them, you know what I mean, like from young, where it's like, this isn't what matters, this isn't what truly, just like other conversations and other things too, that should be kind of like, told to them. And you asked about something I don't like.
Is there anything about Christmas you don't like?
That's hard, because again, I love Christmas, so I'm trying to think of something that's negative. Like for me, I don't necessarily feel a pressure. I mean, I've had times where like financially it was like, oh, I can like afford like to get like my parents this and my wife that, and it's like all of these things. And then moments where it's like, I can't really do that, right? I don't feel that pressure or put that pressure on myself. I think that I love the idea of giving. So it's just, you know, I look forward to that part a lot of times. And I was thinking about this earlier too, because there are like certain things that I got for certain people. And then I'm like thinking like I'm excited for them to like see it. You know what I mean? And open it and have that. But it isn't necessarily a pressure. And I think it really does come with the idea of growing up, having the experiences of having really high moments and really low moments where it was like great Christmases. And then there were some years where it was like not great. But because you know, my parents had those conversations with us and they brought us in to kind of like, you know, the financial things that we were experiencing throughout those years or in those moments of our life, you know, we learned how to be grateful. And it took those hard moments where I remember, you know, they say this story all the time about my brother being at a store and him wanting something when he was small, like 3 years old, and them saying no when he like had a whole meltdown. And they literally like they took him, sat him down, explained to him, and was like, you know, like that you can't have a meltdown because we said no once, you know. But it was like that's what they did, and that's what how they, you know, taught us. So it was like the year where, you know, we didn't get that. It was like we were still able to have a good time and enjoy, you know what, this family dinner, the movie we saw, the 2 little things we got and whatever. And it was still something that, you know, we were able to enjoy ourselves. So I think carrying that over into just now as an adult, you know, I still have that, you know, in the back of my mind, or I still think about those moments where, you know, you're just grateful. You know what I mean? So I think it's one of those things. I can't really think of something I don't like, you know, off the top of my head. There's Christmas songs I don't like. I think we've had this conversation before, but there are Christmas songs I don't like. But that's very small. As far as something about Christmas I don't like, off the top of my head, I can't really think of anything.
Yeah. No, there's people that is like, you know, one of the things that's like very Christmassy is like eggnog. And there's people that like, they love it. And there's people like, oh, that's the grossest thing ever. Yeah, you know, so there are things, there are aspects.
Like traffic, like unnecessary traffic because everybody's out in the stores. You know what I mean?
You don't like that about Christmas time.
It's like, okay, that's unnecessary. But, you know.
Right after Christmas is New Year's, literally the following week. And this is where everybody starts doing their New Year's resolution. And they start having their reflective moments and all this stuff or whatever. So let's get into that a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I'm dying because I saw a tweet where somebody put, I haven't heard or seen anybody say that 2024 is their year. Y'all are learning. Listen,
it's kind of like,
you know, because we get that too, where people like kind of push off things for like a new year. New Year's going to be the end, you know, sometimes it doesn't always.
But there's still time. They may come in. They may open the floodgates of new year, new me, and all the things that are going to come with that. But I will say that, you know, with 2023 wrapping up, entering into 2024, I feel like you should be looking back at the year and being like, oh, you know what? This year I learned X, Y, and Z. Whether it is something you learned about yourself, something you learned about others, something you learned about your walk with God. Is there anything that you'll say, you know what? In 2023, I learned this.
Yeah, I mean, again, something I've been thinking about, and for me, it was a word that I had kind of summed up everything, right? And it's a simple word. It's nothing crazy and deep. It's just gratitude, right? And I think it's the idea of, you know, we hear the word gratitude and it's very like, oh, wow, right? But being truly grateful, right? And trying to be grateful for everything. And I'm not talking about I have food, I have clothes and shelter, but it's like, you know what? Yes, the blessing of, you know, being a dad and this year, you know, having Micah and, you know, that how he just changed everything and literally it changes your life and he's 6 months and all of these things, right? So it's like absolutely grateful for that. But, you know, also just grateful for the not so great moments. You know what I mean? And I think it's truly hard to put yourself in a position where you are grateful for bad things that happen or things that didn't work out the way you wanted them to. And, you know, we can say like, I'm grateful for all the trials, but to truly be like, I'm, you know, thankful that happened because it taught me this. And I think I've been trying to put myself in a place where I'm looking at everything through the lens of gratitude, where it's like, okay, yes, this happened. Yes, that happened. But I'm grateful because this is what I learned, or I'm grateful because this is what came out of it, or I'm grateful because of the simple fact that I am still here. I am still present. I am still alive. I am still functioning. I am still, you know what I mean? All of those things where I think if you just go by your year, and this is just with 2023, if you go by your year and you kind of don't stop to think about the hard moments you went through besides the, you know, amazing moments, because there are individuals where you ask them, like, you know, 2023, how do you feel? And they think about the horrible things that happened first. Then there are individuals where it's like amazing things happened. And in a year with a lot of amazing things, that's great, right? But there are also not so amazing things that happen that you can kind of just brush off and look at as that was horrible, I don't want to think about it. No, think about it.
Yes.
Stop and think about it. And, you know, again, ask yourself, what did this teach me? You know, and it could have been your mess up, your fault, your failure, your law. Like, it was you. You know what I mean? This wasn't something that was done to you. It was you. You know what I mean? But still, are you grateful for that? Are you grateful for, you know, the ugly side of you? And are you able to now, you know, because of that, be able to know how to get out of that or know how to change and adjust moving forward? You know what I mean? Like, I know now what not to do. I know now how not to think. I know now what not to, you know, take a step into. And it's just something that I think when you look at something through the lens of gratitude, it's much more than just, Lord, thank you for all my blessings, right? It's really thank you for everything, right? The good, the bad part of me, the good side of me, the negative things about myself, my flaws, my errors, my mistakes, but also all of the victories, also all of the great things that you've spoken over me, all the, you know, reasons that I have to not be here, but I am here. You know, I think it takes on a deeper meaning.
Absolutely. And I think one of the things that I take from what you said too is the idea that there are people that walk this journey with blinders on, whether it be denial that they went through anything negative or denial that they went through positive things. And you really have to take those blinders off and give yourself the ability to have a full-blown perspective of what you went through, because it is important to, like you said, look at the good, look at the bad, look at the big picture holistically, so you get a clear and concise understanding of what you went through and what you learned. Because when you only focus on the good, you're losing out on the lessons of the bad, and vice versa. You know, and I like the idea of like placing a word to describe, you know, something that you learned in this year. I think, you know, my word, if we go by your cue, is the idea of perseverance. The idea of, you know, there was a lot of different journeys that I personally went through this year that could have taken me out regardless, you know, and I think that there was goals that I set for myself this year also that would have been, in other times, would have been like close to impossible to have to, you know, to be able to accomplish, that I was able to push through and I was able to do. And I'm really happy that, you know, God gave me the strength to like really push through and to get them done, you know, whether it was relationships that were mended, whether relationships that were held on strong to, whether it be like personal goals and aspirations that I put for myself that I also pushed through and I'm currently going through. I think the idea of persevering is highly, highly important. And, you know, there's some goals that are still in the process that you haven't completely finished yet. It's good. It's okay. You're still in the trenches of it. So you keep pushing through and you keep pushing forward. But then there's other things that you do literally got to take a step back and be like, I did that. I did that. Like, I'm a G. Like, I accomplished that, or I was able to surpass that moment, or I was able to pass, you know, that period or that trial, that situation that I was going through, and give yourself the props that you deserve to be like, you know what, I may not be where I want to be, but I'm definitely headed in the correct direction. You know, a lot of times we focus on the fact that we haven't reached our end goal, and we're not, you know, focused or giving ourselves the grace and the props that we deserve, that we're still walking into that destination. You may not have made it yet, but it's okay because you're still walking forward. So whether it is that you're grateful, whether it is that you're happy that you're persevered, at the end of the day, like, keep it going. No need to stop. 2024. New year. No. 2024 is...
But I mean, I agree. I think it's something that you really sometimes have to give yourself the pat on the back for. You know what I mean? And it's one of those things where you may not get it from other people, and you may not get it from those around you. And, you know, there are a lot of us that sometimes we need to hear other people say that. We need to hear other people say like, hey, you made it, you persevered, you're pushing through. I see you. You know what I mean? But there, you know, times where it's like no one has to tell you that. Tell yourself. Tell yourself that you did a good job this year. Tell yourself that, you know, You have to push through. Like you said, you may not have reached all your goals. You may not have made it to that final destination, but you are on your way and you haven't given up, you know? And I think that is, again, the outlook that you can choose to look at things in your life as I haven't made it. I haven't reached it. I'm still struggling. I'm still needing. I'm still lacking. I'm still all of these things. Okay, yes, maybe that is true, but you are still alive.
Yeah.
And if you are still pushing through and you're still able to do what God has called you to do, and you're still able to be there for your family and still able to show up for yourself in different ways, then that's great. You know what? Okay, 2023, you probably ended the year and you're still in that same boat, whatever you want to call it, or there's still things unresolved in your life, or there's still goals you haven't met, but look at where you are. You know what I mean? And when you stop to see where you are now, right now in this moment, I think you'll see that you're definitely not where you started, right? And you're not where you were. And for those individuals who do that and feel like they took steps backwards, and there are individuals who feel like I'm ending the year, but I actually started this year on a higher note, or I started this year better and I'm ending, you know, at like the worst place right now. Well, then this is the time for you to now go up. And this is the time for you now to switch things around. Okay, you ended the year on a horrible note. You ended the year on a failure. You ended the year doing something horrible. You ended the year not how you started and how the year was going. Okay, great. Who says that, you know, because you ended a year horribly, that now everything's done? Like, that's it. Like, you put that concept of time and that time frame in your mind. You know what? Today's a new day. Tomorrow's a new day. So it's like, wake up knowing that, okay, ended horribly, ended wrong, not the way I wanted it to end, but I now have time to change it. I now have time to like swing this in a different direction and change the trajectory of this path that I was going on, you know? And it really obviously starts with the choice. And there's, you know, again, sounds super easy and sounds super like practical, but it really does start with the choice. And the choice is difficult, you know what I mean? And that's where, you know, we have the ability to make the choice, but sometimes you feel like we don't have the strength or the, you know, faith, I guess you could say, to actually live it out and do it, you know?
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And I think that, you know, as we look into ending this year and starting the next year, you're in charge of your destiny in the sense of how you're going to continue your trajectory. If you were someone who feels like you're on your way down for whatever reason, you've had a bad couple of weeks, a bad couple of months, or you understand and you realize you've made bad decisions that led you up to this point, as long as you have breath in your lungs, you still have the ability to change the direction on which you're going.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't matter what the circumstances in your life look like currently. You can definitely change them by taking the steps into the right direction, into what it is that you want it to be. Whether it be something humongous, whether it be something that's spiritual, you want to better your relationship with God, you want to better your walk in the Lord, you want to better the talents that God has given you, and you want to really cultivate them and grow them. Or whether it is that, you know, you want to lose weight, or what it is, you want to start education, you want to switch your job, you want whatever it is, you know, there's still time to do that. And we always say it, you never have to wait for the new year to start this as a New Year's resolution to get it done. You start that today. You get that done and you keep it moving. And, you know, you try it and you try it and you try it and you try it until you figure it out. Because unfortunately, there isn't a clear path for everybody. No. Just because it worked for you the way that you did it does not mean it's going to work for me in that way. I may have to carve out my own path. I may have to carve out my own options and my own situations in order to make it work for me. And unfortunately or fortunately, that does take time. It takes trial and error. So don't get discouraged because you've tried it one way and it didn't work out. You tried it another way. It didn't work out either. If you feel like this is what you're supposed to be doing, if you feel like this is the direction that God wants to take you in, then it's about trusting in Him and trying different things out.
Yeah. And it won't be easy, obviously, right? It's going to take, you know, hard work. It's going to take dedication, commitment, perseverance. Yeah. It's going to take for you to, you know, have that mentality of I'm not giving up, right? And again, once you make the decision to do something, that's where the hard part starts, because that's where now everything else in your mind, body, soul, spirit needs to align with that decision that is being made, you know? And that's where, again, it'll be tough and it'll be hard, right? But if you really want something to happen, if you really want a change, and if you really want to get out of that place that you're in or achieve the goals that you have on that list and reach those places, it's going to have to take that amount of hard work and dedication, discipline, and all of those things, for sure.
Yeah. So we're wrapping up.
Yeah.
We are wrapping up. We want to just say Merry Christmas. Happy New Year to everyone. Thank you for joining us on this journey in 2023, 2024. Let's see what happens. There's a lot that can happen in 2024.
Absolutely.
And we're really excited to see that unfold and see what God has in store for us personally, together with all of you guys as well.
I mean, this year, I think our live podcast weekend, that conference, I think was like kind of like the highlight of our year as far as what we did. Right,
it's the newest thing, the very different thing that we did. That we're so grateful for. The impact that had. And we're looking forward to doing something like that again in the future as well. We just, like I said, we're very excited to see what 2024 unfolds for each and every one of us.
Absolutely. So yes, Merry Christmas. Have a Happy New Year. And if there's an episode that you haven't checked out, start going back through our list of episodes and start watching them. This is the time where slowly you start seeing like people like starting from the beginning and all of those numbers start going up. We usually take the beginning of like the year where for the first few weeks we're like getting everything together and not just for this but also like our church and every other area that we're involved in. So definitely stay connected to our social media, either Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, to check out when we'll drop new episodes. But this is our final episode for 2023, and the next time you hear our voice and see us will be in 2024.
Yeah, so thank you once again for tuning into the latest episode of the God Life Culture podcast. That's God Life Culture. Until next year.
See ya.
Bye.